Okay. Thank you very much. I'll start all over again. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. And this is our first webinar of the year. Like I said earlier, our program of events for 2020 has been severely disrupted because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But we are grateful to God that we are all still alive and able to come together this afternoon for the webinar. I welcome all our guest speakers today and all of you who have joined us. I truly appreciate you all for taking the time. I have great pleasure in introducing Mr. Oluwayemisi Jenkins, who's the National Community Engagement Lead at the Home Office for Nigeria. I also welcome one of our own from the Nigerian Community Leeds, Mrs. Motunrayo Alabi. And I also welcome Janet Griffiths, who is the Senior Vulnerability Lead at the Home Office as well. She has joined us today to take part in the webinar. And one of their colleagues is here as well, but he won't be speaking. He is here to support and to see, to join, he won't be speaking, but here to support his colleagues. And his name is John Thornton Dale. And at this juncture, I'm going to hand you over to Mr. Timi Awodipe, who will be the moderator for the webinar today. Thank you very much indeed, once again, for your time.
Thank you, Ma. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Hope we're all keeping safe and hope you can hear me clearly. So we aim to start for 1 o'clock. I think it's 1:05 now, and we aim to finish by 3:30. There will be a Q&A session around 2 o'clock, looking at the program. So the program says by 1:10, we have the domestic abuse, modern day slavery by MC Jenkins. By 1:45, we have the perspective on abuse, support by Mrs. Motunrayo Alabi. Then the Q&A session will be for 2 o'clock. We will go on a soft break, which we can get coffee, tea, anything we want. Then we come back again, and we will talk about EU settlement / Windrush, which has got to do about UK visa and the UK visa and immigration team. Then we have another Q&A session as well for 3 o'clock. Then we have a closing remark by Dr. Babatunde Bolade that will close by 3:30. So that's the program being shared there. So we're having a lovely time till 3:30. We'll be seeing my face. So let's get started. So to introduce our speaker, Yemisi Jenkins, MBE, I will quickly read our bio. Yemisi is the Home Office HO National Community Engagement Lead, Nigeria, with over 20 years of strategic and operational delivery in various departments across civil service. Our role involves engaging with the community to build trust and relationship, raise awareness about underreported crime in the community, i.e. domestic violence, abuse, safeguarding, human trafficking, and modern slavery. She also facilitates voluntary return of vulnerable Africans who are undocumented and would like to return to their home country voluntarily. She is very passionate about equality, diversity, and inclusion. She has contributed effectively to addressing D&I issues with the HO, particularly keen on tackling BHD in the workplace. She was recognized as the HO EDI Advisor of the Year in 2014 and awarded an MBE for her services to the border security and staff well-being at work in 2015. As a result of our work, every civil servant in the now has access to free mental health support service. She's a member of Equality Diversity Action Group in the Home Office and recently became a member of the ESCO Challenge Board. She is a vulnerability champion and a mental health first aid instructor. Yemisi enjoys mentoring Black boys in her spare time. So everybody help me welcome our speaker, Oluwayemisi Jenkins, MB. I think you're on mute, ma.
I am. Good morning. I've been afternoon. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you to Nigerian Community Leeds for putting this together and for inviting us. We're not strangers to NCL, as you're called. We've been to quite a few events in the community in Leeds, so we don't take it for granted. It's a privilege and it's an opportunity to be able to engage with the community, to raise awareness, to educate, and to point people in the right direction. So the first segment, we'll be talking about modern slavery and domestic abuse. I've got some slides, so I'll just be waiting for my slide to come up. Whilst we're waiting for the slide to come up, I work in the National Community Engagement Team, and what we do, as was mentioned earlier, is we engage with communities across the UK. There are other community leads who lead on India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Albania, and currently the China role is vacant. We help the community. We support the vulnerable, and we do this because for a long time, when people hear about immigration enforcement, the only thing they think about, or the only thing they know about us, is removing people. Yes, we do. That is our primary assignment, and we'll continue to do that. But in addition to that, there are other things that we do, and we would like the community to be aware of. Second slide, please. So yes, I've talked about the introduction. So if you go next, I've talked about, the introduction, what we do, supporting vulnerable people. If you go to the next one, please. Right, how do we engage with the community? We engage through this means like this, where community puts together an event and we attend and we deliver presentation. We also, it could also be through faith-based organizations. We go to mosques, we go to churches to deliver presentation as well. We go to schools, open day, colleges and universities to raise awareness, not only about what we do, we also encourage the community as well to join us, because we are underrepresented, so would want more members of the community to come and join us and work with us. Next slide, please. Right, so we will be talking about, like I said, domestic abuse and modern slavery. When people hear of domestic abuse, the first thing that comes to to our mind is a woman. Can I just say that anybody can be abused? And I purposely copied majority, if not 98% of this document online. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because I keep saying that there's a lot of information out there that people can actually get information from. Google is your friend, like I always say. All you need to do is type in gov.uk, and everything you see on this slide is straight from there. I did not take anything from the internal resources. everything you will see is straight from gov.uk. So please, when you have the time, because obviously I won't be able to go through every single detail, but it is just to tell you and to encourage you to actually educate yourself in terms of knowing whatever is applicable to you. So whenever whenever you approach maybe your solicitor or your lawyer for support, you are coming from a place of knowledge. And when you're being told the wrong thing, you can quickly question and say, no, that is not right because I have read it. So domestic abuse, the government defines it. The definition of domestic violence and abuse is any incident or pattern of incidents of controlling, cohesive, or threatening behavior, violence or abuse between those aged 16 or over who are or have been intimate partners or family members, regardless of gender or sexuality. Most times people think that abuse is between partners, maybe between husband and wife, girlfriend and boyfriend, or partners, irrespective of your gender, but you can also be abused by other members of your family. So we need to understand that. So it is not just restricted to relationship. Any other member of your family can abuse you. Modern slavery. Now, modern slavery is a topic that, unfortunately, the Nigerian community, or should I say Nigeria, has a very high number of victims. Nigeria is one of the top countries that we see a lot of people who are victims of modern slavery. Modern Slavery Act 2015 was made, the UK, the first country in the world to recognize large businesses to report on how they prevent modern slavery in their operations and supply. So this is not only applicable to big organizations, but it is very important that big organizations work with governments, NGOs to tackle this, because their chain of supply could be from slavery, from modern slavery. And the reason why it is modern is because when people hear of slavery, it is not slavery, it's on what you call unseen. It is not the slavery that we read when we were growing up in terms of people being shackled in chains and things like that. No, this is where people are being exploited right under our noses. Modern slavery is a very serious crime that violates human rights. Victims are forced, threatened, or deceived into situation or subjugation, degradation, and control, which undermines their personal identity and sense of self. Now, I explain to people when I've had cases being reported to me where victims have reported, and I'm sure a few of us will be aware of some high-profile cases some few years ago. And it's you see, the interesting thing with modern slavery is it is not about your class or your grade. I think the very first one that broke was about a medical doctor, and I think two who are professionals, and you would expect that they would know better. I explain to people that, please, when you bring people in to either work for you, please ensure that you read the rules. When they're coming, get the correct visa for them to come. And when they get here, please ensure you give them the right to freedom. What does that simply mean? What that simply, obviously the person has to be over 18. What that simply means is do not hold on to their passports. Give them a key to the house so they're able to move freely. I hear people say, "Oh, well, because I brought this person in, what if they run away?" And I say to them, that is none of your business. Your business is have them here, give them the support they need. If that happens, go and report to the police. You holding their passports is not a means of deterring them from running away. As a matter of fact, that can be used against you when they present their case in court. So please do not hold on to anybody's passport. Ensure they have free movement. They have the time that they start their chores or duties in the house, and they have a time to finish. And they also have time to rest. It is not 7 days a week, 24/7, like some people do. And you know, I hear this a lot, and I just cringe when people say, "Oh, well, we've only brought them to help them." There's a difference between helping someone and enslaving someone. Think about this. If it so happens that a family member of yours becomes a victim, or the times things are no longer the same for them, and they decide to apply and then get a job to help in the UK, and when they get here, you then hear that somebody is underpaying them, somebody is threatening them, somebody, whoever the employer is not treating them the way a human being should be treated. How would you feel? So I say to people, please always turn this around and think about it as yourself. Now, there's what we call the national referral mechanism. I've heard so many people saying, oh, I don't want to report it, I don't want to go in there. And so many people have condemned it as well. Yes, I would say that I've heard that. But what I encourage people to do is, please, you need to get into the NRM, that's the National Referral Mechanism, because that is how you would get the support you need from the appropriate authorities. And if we don't use this resources, there is no way that the authorities, we know that it is effective or inefficient, and they need to look at it again and amend it and make sure it is fit for purpose. It is only when we use it and we're able to complain about about it, that is when they can then go back and look at it again and make amendments. So I would encourage people to please use the National Referral Mechanism. Next slide, please. Yes. Now, I have decided to put some key points when it comes to modern slavery here, because modern slavery encompasses human trafficking and slavery, servitude, and forced or compulsory labor. I'm sure we've heard of people who have been sent into farms to pick, they call them pickers. And people think that modern slavery only affects people that are not British. No, it affects anybody, can become a victim. You be British or not, you can actually become a victim. So let us demystify, let us take our minds away from that. Human trafficking, for you to come up and say that you have been a victim of human trafficking for an adult, there has to be an action, there has to be a means, and there has to be a purpose of exploitation as well. All these three components must be present in an adult trafficking case. But for children trafficking, the means component is not required. So in human trafficking cases, exploitation may take forms including sexual exploitation, forced labor, like I said earlier, slavery, servitude, forced criminality, and even, as bad as removal of organs. We've heard that as well, and it happens. So please let us take note of this. And there are so many things around us that when we notice, please let us take it upon ourselves to pick up the phone and call. There are some numbers you can call. There are numbers at the end of the slide, which I'll share later, that because I know that some people would say, oh no, I don't want to get involved. Please pick up the phone and call 0800 numbers. They're free toll numbers. You don't have to leave your name or the details. All they're asking is give information that you're privy to, and they will do the rest. But without that information, they cannot do their job, and people will continue to suffer in silence. Next slide, please. Can you bring it up? Yeah. So this is key point continued again. So some people may not be victims of human trafficking, but still victims of modern slavery if they have been subject to slavery, servitude, and forced or compulsory labor. Now, you notice that I have highlighted human trafficking is not the same as human smuggling. They're two different things. I'd also want to touch on the myth. There's always there's this common myth about modern slavery, such as misconception that which I mentioned earlier, that UK nationals cannot be victims. That is not true. We've had some Irish some Irish young adults who were enslaved. So I think it was about 2 years ago. So please do not think that this is only about people that are not UK nationals. It can be anybody. And also that a person cannot be a victim if they reject offer of help. So, you know, if somebody comes and says, oh, because this person rejected offer of help, then they're not a victim. No, you cannot just take it like that. You need to look at the bigger picture and need to look at the picture in its entirety before you can make a decision or make a judgment. And please, I would say, if you notice, like I said earlier, I cannot say it enough. I cannot stress it enough. If you notice anything and we see things around us, pick up the phone and make that call. Next slide, please. Right, this is going to be the next session. So we're going to leave this for now. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Moderator? Am I correct?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes. We're stopping there for now.
Okay, so there will be time for, I know that I rushed through it, I'm conscious of the time, and I just want to ensure that we have enough time for questions and answer. And this is because for a very long time, when it comes to abuse, some of the stories I have heard is when people come as spouses, when they come here, the treatment they get from their spouse is they you know, victims of abuse just because they are on the spouse visa. And because they don't know how it works in the UK, they are told so many things that are not right. So they get abused by their partners. The same partner that should be protecting them abuses them, and they feel that, you know, I can't get out of this. This is it. I just have to stay in this relationship. No, you don't have to. If you're being abused because you don't know your rights, you're new to the UK, so you have not familiarized yourself with the laws in the country, please speak out. There are so many NGOs in the community that would help you. If you think, oh, you know, maybe being a Nigerian or an African, maybe you think language barrier, there's an organization called Africa. Africa are the leading, or is a leading NGO in the community. The Africa actually works with the government as well. There's Salvation Army as well. You can pick up their phone to call and speak to them, and you will get the help you need. You can go to your Citizens Advice Bureau. Every borough has a Citizens Advice Bureau. You can go to the local authority. You can walk into the local authority and say, this is what you're going through. All these, should I call them agencies? They're there for us to access. They're there for you to go to, and they will help you. You can actually go to the police. One of the things that I've heard a lot about, is people who are the perpetrators. One of the ways they enslave people is they instill in them that, oh, if the government knows or if Home Office is aware that you're here, the next thing is you'll be arrested, detained, and removed. Most times they use deport. No, it doesn't happen like that. I can reassure you that we don't do that. If you report case of human trafficking, modern slavery, domestic servitude, domestic abuse, you will not be arrested or detained. The crime would actually be investigated, and you can be rest assured that the perpetrator will be arrested. But what I also usually add to that is, because some people will say, oh, some people use domestic violence as a means of getting their papers in the UK. Now, if that is the case, you will be found out. And if another thing I need to point out is for victims of modern slavery and human trafficking, I am not saying that it is a guaranteed route for you to be granted indefinite leave to remain. But what I am saying, and what I cannot stress enough, is that at least you know that you're out of that bad situation and the perpetrator will be arrested. Having said that, there are so many people that we have helped, and some would actually say they want to go back to their country. And some have actually stayed back. So it depends. It is not a one-size-fits-all. So please, if Mr. A or Mrs. A tells you his or her own story, it doesn't mean that your own story fall into that category. You need to speak to the authorities. You need to speak to professionals. I've decided not to go into the emotional and the part of it, because I know that there's a health person in the house who will be talking about that. But I've chosen to just stick to the support you can get from the authorities in the UK if you are a victim of modern slavery, human trafficking, and all the others that I have mentioned. And like I said earlier, it is not only women that are domestically abused. Our men also are abused. There's violence towards men, but the sad thing is, and this is not about one culture, I think it's across culture, our men do not report. So I strongly believe that if our men report, we will probably have a very high number of men that are being abused. So I'll bring my talk to an end now. I don't know how the moderator is going to run it. Is it going to be joint with the from the help section perspective, or you want to open it to Q&A now? I don't know.
Yeah, thank you so much. We will be having Mrs. Motunrayo Alabi. We will be talking about the perspective of abuse and support. But before she comes on, I will be reading her biography. If that's okay. All right. So Mrs. Motunrayo Alabi is an advanced social work practitioner with Wakefield Council. She holds a master's degree in social work and has 11 years experience of working with children and families. She's married with 4 beautiful daughters. So Mrs. Motunrayo Alabi, we will be opening the floor to you. So welcome, ma.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for actually inviting me as well. I've heard what our first speaker has said. So what I will be talking about is from the child's perspective, because as a children's social worker, because I work with children and families, it's very important for the views and the voice of the child to be heard. So whilst all these things that we've heard from Mrs. Jenkins is happening to either the mom or the auntie or the uncle, there's a child somewhere that nobody's actually taking note of, or probably they've been forgotten about. So I'm just going to talk briefly, because I know I was given 15 minutes in terms of, so that's what I'll be talking about is how does domestic abuse affect children? We know domestic abuse, I think, is a very popular word. And for the benefit of those who do not know, we have different types of abuse. We have the emotional abuse, we have the physical abuse, we have financial abuse, we have sexual abuse. And it could be either one of them or all of them could be happening at the same time. So like we've heard earlier, it could be the woman could be the victim, or it could be the man. So in this case, because abuse is something that happens across cultures, it happens all over the world. I remember speaking to one of my aunties recently from Nigeria, and she was saying, I don't think white people beat their wives today. And then I laughed. I said, oh yeah, they do. She said, yeah. I said, yeah, because every human being, we're very similar. While we have our differences, we have lots of things that makes us to be similar. So while some of us could think, actually, he doesn't beat me, but emotionally, the abuse is there. So that's why men also maybe while the woman might not be hitting you, she might be emotionally abusing you as well. So, but I think the key to it is about speaking to somebody. And like I said from the beginning, as a children's social worker, I work in the child protection team. So we would normally get cases of, because domestic abuse is a safeguarding concern, because the welfare of this child is being put at risk. So what we need to recognize is children learn from their environment and their parents. Because of their experiences, they grow up thinking that a certain situation, such as domestic violence and abuse, is normal. So if you grow up in a family where your mom hits your dad, you are more likely to think it's okay. And if you grow up in a family where your dad hits your mom, you are more likely to think it's okay. It's open to argument. You could say you are also more likely, when you grow up, you might hit your wife or your girlfriend, or you might not. But that is something which we learn from our environment. So, but the problem is when you start to normalize such behavior, so like in our societies, where we have even where it's been normalized, where it's okay to hit the child. And you heard the word where they say, spare the rod and spoil the child. So when people come to this country, they find it difficult that, why am I not allowed to hit my child? And I do say, yeah, you are not allowed. So, but ignorance is not an excuse. So, but when people are victims of domestic violence, the danger is when you start to normalize such behavior for children, they now start to take such experiences through life, because that is what they've grown to know. But for young people who are experiencing domestic violence and abuse, it could be directly or indirectly. I do have these discussions with people and I say, actually, I think for those who know me, it's like when for like social media, I can't stand being in a group where people are abusive to themselves. So because I feel I'm being abused as well. So it actually hurts me when I see such things. So I'd rather take myself away from it, and I'll make sure that is, that's me protecting myself. So that's what you'd expect from people, whereby it's not okay to witness domestic violence. And I think that's where children come into it. So parents might think, yeah, I'm just beating your mom, I've not touched you. But actually, your child is witnessing it. It's even more damaging to that child. So when people, or when young people experience domestic violence and abuse, like directly or indirectly, some of the things that starts to happen to such children, and I like us to kind of listen to what I'm saying now, so that in case you find such children, and I'm not saying every child you see is like that, because there could be other reasons, but it's for us to be our brother's keepers. So such children can become withdrawn, they can be violent, they can lose confidence in themselves. The experiences can also have a significant emotional impact on them. The Royal College of Psychiatrists, they've said that children or young people, they might become anxious or depressed. They might have difficulty sleeping. They could have nightmares or flashbacks. They could be easily startled. They may complain of physical symptoms such as tummy aches. They start to wet their bed. They have temper tantrums. They behave as though they are much younger than they are. So you might start seeing a child who actually, maybe the child is like 14 or 15 or maybe 12, but they behave, they kind of infantilize and start behaving younger. They have problems at school. So you will see where when your children go to school, there's a lot of behavior issues. They become aggressive, or they may internalize their distress and withdraw from other people. They have a lowered sense of self-worth. They begin to play truant or start to use alcohol or drugs. Some of them self-harm and take overdose, or they even cut themselves. And they have eating disorder. Children may also feel angry, guilty, insecure, alone, frightened, powerless, or confused. So what I'm basically saying is, because I've worked with children firsthand, I have seen all these symptoms in children. And I've seen when I've spoken to children where it's affecting them. But what you wouldn't know as a parent is, you just think because it's the business between you and your partner in the house, But like every other thing we do, you will always have the result of it. And that is some of the things that will start showing from your children's behavior. So another question is, in what ways can children witness domestic violence and abuse? I've talked about it before. You know, they can be caught in the middle of an incident when they want to try and stop it. Because as the children start getting older, even younger ones, and we see that happening with a lot of teenagers, when they see mom and dad arguing, then obviously the child knows what's going to happen next. So they want to defend their moms. Most likely it's going to be mom when it becomes physical. They want to defend mom, and then they get caught in the middle. So obviously you didn't plan to hit your child. You didn't plan for them to smash their head on the wall, but because you were angry, you were about to hit your partner, or you probably you could be the mom either. So there's that risk of physical harm to either you who is fighting, and that's why you hear people say, once it starts getting too physical, just get out of the relationship, because at that point, it is dangerous. So the children could be in the next room and they could hear the abuse, or they might see next day, they see mom or dad with injury, black eyes, and then people ask you, oh, I just ran into the door. So those are some of the things you start to see. And then you need that child to help you, to look after you. That is not right. Sometimes you make the children to stay in the bedroom whilst you're having it out with your partner. Is equally as damaging as them actually witnessing what's going on. Sometimes some children actually are forced to witness sexual abuse, or they might even be involved. Some parents do that. You introduce your children into the abuse. And then I've seen where children, they're very disrespectful of either their mom or their dad, simply because you've introduced. So those children don't have regards for their parents. But remember what I said earlier, whilst all this is going on, you are damaging your children. So it's for us to kind of remember all these things, and we want to enjoin everybody to make efforts to protect our children from all these harms. Something was said earlier about reporting to the police. The point gets to that level, unfortunately, from the research evidence is suggesting that we do not get enough reports coming in from Black and ethnic minority groups for many reasons, for maybe that because of the paper issues, or because culturally we're ashamed. We don't want people to know what we're going through, or you don't want people to talk about what is going on. But I would like to encourage us, if you are going through any form of domestic abuse, try and have somebody you can speak to. Whilst we have all these services out there, and maybe you don't know who to speak to, one easy way is when you go take your child to school in the morning, just call the mailing mentor. You can speak to the school staff. Schools are very, very experienced in that. Just speak to them and tell them, this is what I am going through. And they know the right people to contact, because school is an easy access. You can easily do that. 999 is another easy number. Whilst that is going on, ring them. And I want to kind of point out something, because when we become involved at social care level, it's normally when it's getting very, very bad. But before it gets to that level, I just want to differentiate between parental conflict and domestic violence. People might be saying, well, we do argue. Arguments is very, very, heated argument is not good. But when there are domestic, when there's parental conflict in the family home, you need to, there's still help for that. And I think sometimes with our people, we think conflict is all right. Everybody argues. Then you have like aunties or uncles or people you respect, they can come into it and help you to resolve that. So that is like, and I'll talk about like arguing. Whilst there's nothing, there's nothing wrong with arguing, because actually you need to kind of, I don't expect partners, husband and wife, girlfriend, boyfriends. You can't just agree with everything the other person says, but it's about how do you argue fairly in such a way that it doesn't actually become domestic violence. As in, okay, we're kind of talking, we're kind of disagreeing with ourselves, But how do you do that in such a way that, because to be honest with you, for long-term relationship, how successful your relationship would be depends a lot on how you disagree and resolve it. So we need to be skilled in what you call conflict resolution as a couple, whereby things don't get to a point where you start to beat each other up. But how do you communicate with yourself that you can sort out issues? So one thing I'll try to tell us is when you argue, you need to try and remain calm. You need to be reasonable. You need to be rational as an adult. If you have genuine feelings, you are entitled to give a reasonable voice to those feelings in a positive way. So actually, if somebody is doing something to you that hurts you, you should be able to say, actually, my husband or my wife, do you know what you did last time? This is how I feel about it. So you are trying to communicate as reasonable adults. So like I said earlier, disagreements will always occur because I don't expect people to always agree. But if you want your relationship to be a partnership that is together and not a competition, because obviously some couple in a relationship compete with themselves, you have to approach arguments with a spirit of looking for a solution, not with the spirit of getting evil. So which means both of you need to kind of agree with each other that, yeah, I know I have to disagree with you, but I don't want to, fall out with you. I just want us to find a way around it. And also you need to kind of learn strategies, because if you don't say it out, you become frustrated and things get out of hand. So like I said, when you kind of argue, it's about discussing how you can resolve the disagreements between yourselves. And then one thing I like to leave with us is we need to have, like, as a couple, you understand yourself better. So you need to have like a plan in place. You hear anybody who has had involvement with social workers would always hear we use the word plans a lot. And I believe when you have a good plan in place, things will be all right. However, when your plan don't work, then you've got a crisis. So which means you go back, you review your plan, you look at it that, okay, as a couple, so you can look at it. Why did we argue? Why did this violence happen? You start to reflect, you sit down and you look at that. If you can't do it between yourself, get a third party to help you. But normally we will say once it gets to the point where you start hitting yourself, I think you need somebody a little bit of a specialist to help you out. Not just when it comes to like parental conflict I was talking about. You need to recognize your emotions. How do you feel? What triggers that anger? Do you have anger issues? Do you need support for that? There are some people when they get angry, they start to shake, things happen to them. What are you thinking when you argue with that person? What's going on in your your head? So those are the things that we need to kind of put in mind. And then how did things just escalate to that level? For some people, drink is a factor that triggers. For some people, mental health, maybe undiagnosed ones or untreated ones that is not under control, might be a factor. So again, you need to ask yourself, what do I want from this relationship? You've got a child or you've got children. I'm sure you didn't get together with the intention of damaging your children. But if you go back to what I said earlier, imagine a little child or a growing child growing up with all that baggage. So I'm going to stop now. If anybody wants to ask any questions, but what I will just try and round up with is that there is support out there. There is in Leeds, there is the Leeds Domestic Violence Service. Just like we heard earlier, if you Google, you can find out support for domestic violence in Leeds. They can help you. For men as well, there's a District Council is done really well. They've got lots of resources. It's called Caring Dads Program, and they're quite good. They've got a worker that actually works with men from Black and ethnic minority group. It's a 17-week program. They will work with you to kind of, easily from what's been going on. How do we address it? So I hope I haven't spoken too fast, and I hope people have kind of been able to get one or two things from what I've said. Thank you for listening to me, and thank you for the opportunity you've given me to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, Mrs. Motunrayo Alabi. Thank you so much. Just in case you just joined in, we're talking about domestic abuse and modern-day slavery. We had Oluwayemisi Jenkins spoke earlier, and we had Mrs. Motunrayo talking from perspective of a social worker. So it's now Q&A time. Thank you. We're sticking to time. It's question and answer time. If you do have any question, please, you can unmute yourself and ask any question or clarification. I do understand sometimes our panelists are talking. Possibly, if you need website where they can point you to, you can ask your questions now. Please, the floor is open for questions and answers.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Oh, good afternoon. My name is Oluwayemisi. I am a legal practitioner. And
please, can we all unmute? Sorry, sir. Please, can we mute so we don't have any background noise, please? And if you do want to speak, can you sound out any sets behind you? Thank you.
once again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Oluwayemisi. I'm a legal practitioner. I just want to make about 30 seconds comment with respect to.
Hello, sir. Sorry, 1 minute. Please, there's a background noise of a TV or something that I can hear. Can everybody please mute?
Mute everybody.
I don't have the, can everybody be muted?
Can you mute everybody, please?
Mr. Oluwayemisi, you can go on now, please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just quickly, my focus mainly, because of our time, will be on Ms. Jenkins' presentation, and I'd like to thank while thanking Mrs. Alabi as well. The issue about DV are some of the things that we handle, and I just wanted to add to what Ms. Jenkins had presented for the benefit of potential, we pray not, or actual domestic violence or domestic abuse victims, particularly as Ms. Jenkins mentioned earlier, when it has to do with people who hold spousal visas. Please let me quickly clarify something. My organization will neither offer nor advise on immigration. So please let that be clear. However, because some of these issues are interlinked, we have people we refer to when it comes to immigration, proper immigration matters. But the issue with spousal visa, as Ms. Jenkins mentioned, has to do with a lot of threatening behavior, whereby, and mostly as we see it cuts across. But the ones that we have seen had to do with the woman who had come to join the husband, and all of a sudden problems started and all this, So now the fear of, oh, what is going to happen? The husband threatening, look, I'm going to withdraw. What you have is a temporary, visa. I could withdraw that. Now, please, if we know anybody, or if you are a victim, or you find yourself in such a situation, as Ms. Jenkins rightly said, there is help with respect to that from the Home Office. In fact, you have a better chance of living your life and not dying. You have a better chance, as Mrs. Alabi said, of being able to take care of your children, because if you allow yourself as a woman to now be affected terribly to the point that you now become unwell, then the man's plan might now work out if you develop serious mental health problem where you're unable to take care of yourself. The children might have to be taken off you. Now, but be assured that, like I said, the Home Office are there. All you need to do, even if you don't have anyone you need to go to, there are agencies you can go to. Go online, as Ms. Jenkins had advised. Look out, just type domestic violence or domestic abuse, and you might instantly realize that if you make an application that is called, and this is what this application is called, if you are suffering domestic violence or abuse, and you decide to move out, or you would like to move out, just go online and search for destitution domestic violence concession. Even though you are on the visa of your husband or your wife, if you put that application in, I can assure you that that help is there. Within 2-3 weeks, the Home Office will grant you a temporary visa outside and away from the spousal visa that you are holding. So you are now on your own. And that visa gives you an opportunity to now apply for help, either through universal credit or even the local authority for child benefit. It is called destitution domestic violence concession. You will be given for 3 months. Within the 3 months, you can get help from the local authority and Department of Works and Pensions. And the next thing that happens is within the 3 months, you are expected to fill another form that is called form set in bracket DV, as in domestic violence. That now gives you an opportunity, finally, on that, making that application. It has to be within 3 months. What you now have to do is the Home Office will normally take fees, which is about 2,000 something for any indefinite leave application. In this case, because it's domestic violence of abuse, you might be given a waiver by the Home Office looking at your circumstances. And these are the things that we need to try and do. Please don't be scared. Don't be afraid. Just try and make your relationship work. If it doesn't work and you believe you're in danger, please take all these opportunities and you will just find yourself, you know, possibly settling in the UK. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. Thank you for the contribution. That was well thought of. Do we have any other question and answer, please? Any other question? Another contribution?
Yes, please, Mr. Tini, if you check, I've actually raised my hand here.
Okay.
Okay, this is a question for Mrs. Lynn Jenkins, please, yeah? Is that okay? Hello?
Go on.
Right, okay. This is a question for Mrs. Lynn Jenkins, yeah? She said that the components of human trafficking are action, means, and something else. Could she please expatiate on that, please? Hello?
Did you hear the question? Yeah, the question, ma.
I'm not sure if she heard me.
You're on mute, ma.
I've unmuted myself.
Yes, you're on mute now. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I can now.
Yeah, I didn't do anything. Yeah, go on. So, what was the question again?
Right. Okay. You did say that the components of human trafficking are action.
Okay, means and exploitation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Could you please expatiate on that, please? Yeah.
Okay. When you know, these three needs to take place. So the first one, which is action, and what that means is recruitment, transportation, transfer, harboring or receipt, which includes an element of movement, whether national or cross-border. Does that make sense? So that will be the action towards being trafficked. And then the means is threat or use of force, cohesion, abduction, fraud, deception, abuse of power or vulnerability. And this would be for the purpose of exploitation. And the exploitation, for example, sexual exploitation, forced labor, or domestic servitude, slavery, financial exploitation, and even removal of organ. So that is for adult trafficking. When it comes to, is that clear? Did you get that?
Yes, fine. Yeah, and then okay. Also yes, and then also you also said that the means component does not apply to a child or to children.
No. Okay, let me read that back. Okay. For the child, like I said, all of this is actually on gov.uk, and the what's it called, the slides will be shared. Now for a child, the components of child trafficking, action and exploitation. So for action, you have recruitment, transportation, similar to action of the first one, includes an element of movement, whether national or cross-border. Exploitation, for example, sexual exploitation, forced labor or domestic servitude, slavery, financial exploitation, removal of organs as well. Now, as we all know, a child cannot give a consent for all of this to happen. Can you still hear me?
Yes, fine. Yes, fine.
Yes.
I can, yeah. I guess the point that I'm trying to make, the bit that I'm trying to understand is, why does the means component not apply to a child out of the action, the exploitation, and the means components of human trafficking? You said that the means component does not apply to a child, and I'm not asking you to please expatiate on that.
I didn't get you. To expatiate on.
What I'm asking is, you said the components of human trafficking are action one. Yeah,
action for child and different
means
for adults.
Two and substitution. So I'm now asking you, you also said that the means component, that applies to an adult does not apply to a child. So I'm now asking you, what is the distinction as to a means applying to an adult but not to a child? You get me?
Okay, for example, if for an adult can, deception. Maybe that, for example, somebody promised somebody good life when they come to the United Kingdom, right?
Yeah.
Employment. But by the time they get here, it is different. But when it comes to a child cannot give informed consent about, okay, you've told me I'm coming for employment or I'm coming to work. Even some adults, they know they're coming. It could even be they know that they're coming to do what do you call it? They're coming to work in the sex trade. But what has been told, what they have been told is it will be very, very different from what it is when they get here. So for the child, you cannot, you cannot ask, or you cannot say that the child gave a consent to say, okay, yes, you've told me this is what I'm coming to do, and as a result of that, I knew that I was coming to do that. A child cannot give informed consent because they can't. That's simply it. So it is a case of consent or not giving consent. A child cannot give a consent.
Okay, that is fine. Thank you.
Is that clear?
Very much. Yes, please. Yes, please.
That okay? Good. Yes, but like please. I said, there's a lot of information. Just type in gov.uk and type in what do you call it? Modern slavery, human trafficking, and everything is broken down. I say to people, there is nothing your lawyer or your advisor has access to that you don't have access to. Like I said at the beginning, I don't know if you joined us at the beginning, I purposely lifted everything from gov.uk, because if I have sort of summarized what we use internally, people say, oh, we don't know. So this is to show you that everything you see on that slide is in the public domain and you can access it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that question, Mr. Uche Opala. If we do have any other question, please. I can't see hands raised at our technical team. I don't know if there's any other hand that is being raised.
Mr. Alabi has got her hand up.
Okay. Mr. Alabi, you said?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, do you know when you said they should go on leeds.gov, I'm just conscious that the people who would be going through all these things probably might not, because I've worked with lots of families, very vulnerable, lots of poverty. Some don't have access to the internet. They don't even have access to some of what we're saying now, because it's only somebody who is, you're settled, you have everything you need. These are people where maybe they just go out and work and they don't have access. They don't have anybody to talk to. So is there anything that the Home Office is actually doing practically to engage these hard to reach people? Because I just wanted to know what the Home Office is actively doing to engage vulnerable people in our communities.
Thank you very much for that. That is a very good question. I mentioned within the Nigerian community, because I know that our people do not speak out. Our people find it very hard to approach authority. Now, this is one means by which the Home Office is trying to reach the community. Like I said at the beginning, we go to churches, we go to mosques, we go to community events to deliver presentation. There are some other Nigerian NGOs that I know that people you can approach as well. But the thing is that either through Facebook, a lot of people are on Facebook, Twitter, what do you call it? There's so many of them that I've lost track, but I can read a few just for those that are not from the Nigerian community, because even though these organizations, even though they are Nigerian something, that does not mean that if you're not from Nigeria, they will not attend to you. Like I said, the major one that a lot of people know or are aware of is Africa. But there's Salvation Army, and Salvation Army, they're across, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Salvation Army are all over the place. You can actually go to your local authority as well. There's the Banados as well. A lot of people know Banados. They're what we call, I'll read a list of what we refer to as first responders. You have Banados, you have BASO, BAWSO, Kalayan, Magdalene Trusts. There's Migrant Help, New Pathway, NSPCC. There's Poppy Project, there's Refugee Council, there's Unseen UK. And within the Nigerian community, if you're from a particular state, at least I'm aware that you can actually, you have what we call state associations. We have Nigerians in diaspora, we have KANUK, we have Association of British Nigerian Law Enforcement Officers, we have British Nigerian Safeguarding Consortium. These are organizations that people can actually approach, and they will provide the support you need. If it's because of language barrier, you find people who will speak all the language, the major languages, and maybe it might then be difficult having to speak, the dialects, but at least the major languages, you will find people who can. But you see, the major problem is speaking out, and that is cultural. A lot of us do not speak out. I'll share with a colleague of mine, sorry to digress, I'll share with a colleague of mine that do not be surprised if siblings do not know that the other one has ailment, especially cancer. These are the things that you never share with even your sibling until you're close to your death, and then people be like, oh, we didn't hear, or you hear in church, oh, pray for so and so. The name is not given, the ailment is not given, but you're just told to pray. Similar in the mosque. So we need to start encouraging ourselves to start speaking out. I, for example, I'm diabetic. I say to the whole world, it is not contagious. But a lot of, are you? We need to start demystifying all these things. And the only way we can do that is by speaking out and encouraging others to speak out.
Thank you.
I hope that was useful. But if you want the list of the responders, I can send it to NCL. But like I said, it's on gov.uk. Just type in modern slavery and everything is there. So people can actually share with their communities.
We have 2 hands up at the moment.
Okay.
First, we'll go to Mrs. Ndidi Ngopara, and after that, it will be Mr. Ochi Opala.
So in addition to what Mrs. Alabi said, yes, the information is there on .gov, the website. And my experience is that it looks very simple, like straightforward, but you still need a lawyer to do some underlying interpretation or give you some of the information that's been left out. A lot of information shared on .gov looks simple and straightforward, but you still need to work with a lawyer, which a lot of people struggle to access. And then in addition to speaking out, Ms. Jenkins, what you just said last, I know it's a trust issue. NCL has organized a seminar on the EU settlement, trying to reach out to non-European family members of European citizens so they can take advantage of the European settlement scheme. There's a timeline for it, but we didn't get any response. Does it mean that we don't have non-EU family members? It's easier for the EU citizens to get their settlement. It takes 4 days or a week, but it's a non-European family members that actually struggle, that need a lawyer because they say our case is complicated. But I haven't been able to reach anybody working on behalf of the settle.org, and now I'm also working on behalf of the UK Butterflies. So this is also another call. Timmy, we could also organize another seminar. We didn't have any response. We did one in February. So we can do another, but on behalf of the organizations reaching out to people to apply for the settlement scheme, I'm making another call. Yeah, thank you.
Do you want me to respond to that? Thank you for that, Ndidi. What I would say is, because I think after lunch, I will be talking about that. And you're absolutely right. I know that we have a lot of Nigerians that are members of the EU and they have family members. But like you said, we don't know why people are not coming out, but we will continue to put the message out there. When you want to have that session, indeed, if you get in touch, if you drop me an email, the EU team would actually come out and deliver a presentation on that. One of my colleagues was supposed to come with me today, but unfortunately, she had last-minute domestic issue, so that's why she's not here. But after the session, I will be going through the EU settlement, who can apply, what you need to do, the fees, and so on and so forth. But thank you for that.
Thank you, Ma. And just to mention, just in case anybody wants to ask a question anonymously, you can send a chat. You can send it through the chat box directly to me, Director of Welfare, or you can send it through my WhatsApp and I will read it out, just in case you want to be anonymous with your question.
Okay.
Other person raising that. Okay, Mr.
Yes,
okay,
yes, please. Okay, my question is for Mrs. Alabi. Hello, Mrs. Alabi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. My question centers on the areas of domestic abuse. Yeah, sometimes men, particularly African men, who are subjected to abuse. Yeah, it could be emotional abuse, it could be verbal abuse as well. Sometimes we find it hard speaking out, yeah, because we see it as a kind of some loss of self-control. So how do you encourage men to speak up when they are the subject of abuse at home? How do you encourage men?
I think my advice is just similar to what I've advised about women, because obviously, like we heard that men might not want to speak out because they feel ashamed. Yeah, so exactly, the best thing would be, there's always somebody that we talk to. So it's always good to speak to that person. However, when you know the situation is really bad and you need professional help, and I think that's the difference between needing just ordinary people to offer you like advice, like emotional support from families and friends, or a situation where you actually need professional help. Because I've had a situation like that where somebody was asking for advice, where it was the wife who was actually, and not just verbal, as well as physical abuse as well. But because this is a man where he's not brought up to be hitting his wife, so she hits him all the time. So whilst the woman thinks it's all right to just slap him as you want to, because he's not raising his hand back at you, that is abuse. So, but the problem was the friends know about it, but there are more underlying issues. So you need to speak to even your GP. You can let your GP know what you're going through. The GPs know a lot about support services out there. And I always say, speak to your GP first. When you speak to your GP, then your GP can actually, then even your wife might also need to go to the GP as well. Because when somebody is hitting you, it's either that person has some underlying mental health issues, or the person has some traumatic experience in their childhood they've not actually had time to deal with, or maybe there's something the man is doing that the woman is frustrated, she doesn't know how to manage it. But one thing I would say is, don't keep quiet, just speak out. Like even if it's within Nigerian community, speak to Mrs. Ajayi first, then she will take it to the next level. So that's what I will say. Or find an older man who is more experienced, and you can see, oh, this family looks, I can trust them. And I think the issue of trust is why a lot of people don't want to speak out. And I always say, who cares? Somebody, even if they talk about you today, you will be the old story by tomorrow. Somebody's story will be the next one. So, but as long as you get the help you need, speak out. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much as well. Yes.
Sorry, can I just add to that? There are quite a few charities out there. You've got Help for Men. You've got even Mankind Initiative that can help. You've got what's the name again? There's Men's Advice Line UK. There's a Refuge Charity, and as a matter of fact, Women's Aid actually provide support for men as well. And can I just a note of caution when it comes to approaching maybe an elderly person in the community? I am sorry, it may be that you're reporting to the wrong person.
We've got 2 minutes.
Rather than go, because what you see outside is completely different from what is inside. You can go to an elderly person that you think is not going through that, and he might turn around and say, oh, you better shut up, as a man, how can you be saying that your wife is abusing you? And it's not only verbal. I know of men that their wives have physically abused, and we don't talk about that. So please, there's like I said earlier, has been said over and over, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of so many charities, but I will be wary of going to an elderly man or an elderly woman in the community, because you don't know, you don't want somebody to add to your issues.
Okay, thank you.
Just be cautious.
Okay.
We've got 1 minute left for Q&A, then we'll be going on the break. Any other question?
No raised hands.
Okay, so
Okay.
also we might just go for a quick early break.
Yeah.
So a quick comfort break for 5 minutes.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
When do you want us back?
25 past, please.
Okay.
2:25.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Topic going forward will be EU settlement and Windrush scheme, which will be continued by Yemi Jenkins. Thank you, Matt.
Hi, thank you. It's Yemisi.
Yemisi.
Yes, not Yemi.
I apologize. Yes, my apologies.
It's okay. Right. The EU settlement scheme, I think it was Ndidi that asked that question earlier. I think that either it's not having the right information or people not accessing the information. I cannot explain why you didn't get any traction for the events you organized in February. But I'll just try and quickly whiz through some key points there that maybe people would then find useful. And the slides is available. So, right now the settlement scheme is hugely successful. It's largely digital route to assure that immigration status of EU nationals and their family members. Both settled and pre-settled status confirms and secures a person's right to remain in the UK and means they can work, study, receive health care, and access benefits and services as they do now. The scheme ethos is very much focused on granting status, and nobody has been granted pre-settled status without first being given the opportunity to provide evidence of their eligibility for settled status. I'll pause here. Now, I know that when the scheme was brought in for people who are already here to please register, there was a lot of complaints from people to say, oh, but the UK show, they have my details, so they should know that I'm here. Why should I register? All I can say is the registration is online. Yes, some people have said that maybe some older people who don't have access to the internet, there is support out there. I know of few different organizations that I have met in the course of engaging with the community, where people have come together to provide support. So that also is there for people to access. But for those who have access to the internet, please, and if you can help others, it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long at all. Now, the scheme is free of charge, and applicants only need to complete 3 key steps. The first one, identity. It tells us who they are, as in tells the Home Office who you are, and evidence your identity. The second one, suitability. It tells us if they have criminal conviction, so we can access their suitability status. And the third one is eligibility, which demonstrates they live in the UK, so we can access their application for scheme status based on their length of residence in the UK. Some facts and key dates. The scheme was launched on 30th of March 2019, following the successful private and public beta testing of the application process. During the testing phase between 28th August 2018 to 29 March 2019, there were over 230 applications. The route is predominantly digital, as in online. However, some applications, like I said earlier, are still processed via a paper route. There is plenty of time to apply, as the deadline for application under the scheme is 30th June 2021. But as we all know, before you know it, we're already, September is over, 2020 is almost over. Who would, when did we start January 2020? So please take that on board. Now, EU settlement scheme statistics, what we can publish and when. The published statistics are detailed on gov.uk, and statistics are published monthly and quarterly. The monthly statistics are referred to as experimental statistics, as they are going through the process of development and review. Right, overall figures. Since the inception of the scheme until 31st August 2020, so this is an up-to-date information, over 3.9 million applications made. 3.9 million applications have been made, and 3.7 have been concluded. So that tells you that 57%, and of these, 57% were granted settled status, 41% were granted pre-settled status. The 2% of cases with other outcomes in quote since the inception of the scheme are accounted for as follows. 31,300 received a withdrawn or void outcome. 38,600 were invalid applications. 10,900, which is about 0.3% applications, have been refused. So that's 0.3% have been refused. So you'll see that it is not a lot. Work to refuse application began in February 2020, and refusals are only progressed after we have repeatedly attempted to work with applicants to try to confirm their status. The total number of refusals should be viewed in context. It is only a tiny proportion. Like I said, it is only 0.3% of 3.9 million that applied. So let us put that into perspective and into context. Right, refusal outcomes. Refusals are always a last resort to conclude an application. Caseworkers have often worked for months to make contact with the applicants and help them to provide the evidence to support the application. I would repeat that. Caseworkers have often worked for months to make contact with applicants and help them to provide the evidence to support their application. As an absolute minimum, we make 3 attempts to contact the applicants through at least 2 different methods of communication, followed by 1 final letter or email, but we have often gone far beyond this. A case is only refused when there is no evidence of eligibility, and repeated attempts to obtain these have failed. The EU settlement scheme options following an eligibility refusal. Following refusal on eligibility grounds, there are a number of options applicants have available. They can apply again free of charge, providing the evidence to support the application. They can apply for administrative review of the decision at a fee of £80. If the review finds that the decision was incorrect, I'll repeat that. If the review finds that the decision was incorrect, the fee will be refunded. As you know, when you apply for visa, you don't get refunded, but this one, you'll be refunded. In addition, anyone who applied to the scheme on or after 11 p.m. 31st January 2020 also has a right to appeal. I'll repeat that. Anyone who applied to the scheme on or after 11 p.m. 31st January 2020 also has a right to appeal. We have resources dedicated to the EU settlement scheme. There are over 1,500 staff dedicated to processing applications made under the scheme. So you know that we are putting a lot of resources into it. The Settlement Resolution Center is a dedicated call center which is open 7 days a week to help and support applicants. The Settlement Resolution Center is open 7 days a week to help and support applicants. The Home Office funds a network of 57 organizations to help vulnerable people, homeless, disabled, and elderly apply. Like I said at the beginning, there are so many means, there are so many organizations. These organizations are being supported, some are being funded also by the Home Office just to provide support to help vulnerable people to apply. In 2019 to 2020, up to £9 million was made available to these voluntary and community sector organizations to help vulnerable or at-risk EEA citizens to apply, and a further £8 million for 2020 to 2021 was announced on 6th of March. Help for applicants, and I think this is very important. Additional support for EU citizens in the UK who do not have the appropriate access skills or confidence to apply online is available, including over 300 assisted digital locations across the UK. Over 300 assisted digital locations across the UK, and over 80 locations where applicants can have their passport scanned and verified across the UK. What's next after settled status? Once issued the settled status, applicants can consider if they want to apply to naturalize as British citizen. Before raising an application for citizenship, applicants must be clear of immigration restriction for 12 months and are deemed clear of restrictions once they acquire settled status. If applicants want to rely on an earlier date than that offered by the issue of settled status so they can acquire citizenship earlier, they need to have a permanent residence document. I'll repeat that. If applicants want to rely on an earlier date than that offered by the issue of settled status, that means so that they can acquire it earlier, they need to have a permanent residence document. Yes, we know a lot of things has happened during COVID. There is also, so the impacts on COVID-19 customer impacts, just like every area that has been impacted, this area too has been impacted. So service in the digital route has been maintained throughout the pandemic crisis. Casework staff have been provided with the means to work from home. Applicants have been able to continue to apply online using the CHIP Checker app if they have the relevant CHIP documents that is required, which will enable them to use the EU Exit ID document app. And then these applications can be raised either via Android phone or your iPhone. And now, who should apply? Yeah, if you can, except in few cases, you need to apply if this is for the EU settlement scheme, otherwise known as EUSS. Except in a few cases, you need to apply if you are an EU, EAA, or Swiss citizen. If you are not an EU, EAA, or Swiss citizen, but your family member is, that is, or is an eligible person of Northern Ireland, so you can actually apply. The EEA includes the EU countries and also Iceland, Liechtenstein, and Norway. This means you need to apply even if you were born in the UK but are not a British citizen. You can check it if you're a British citizen or not. You can check that. If you have a UK permanent residence document, you're a family member of an EU, EAA, or Swiss citizen who does not need to apply, including if they are from Ireland. Even if you are an EU, EAA, or Swiss citizen with a British citizen family member. Who else can apply? You may be able to apply if you are not an EU, EEA, or Swiss citizen, but you used to have an EU, EAA, or Swiss family member living in the UK, but you've separated. They've died or the family relationship has broken down. You're the family, if you're a family member of a British citizen and you lived outside the UK in an EAA country together. You are the family member of a British citizen who also has EU, EEA, or Swiss citizenship and who lived in the UK as an EU, EEA, or Swiss citizen before getting British citizen. If you're the primary carer of a British EU, EAA, or Swiss citizen, if you have a family member who is eligible person of Northern Ireland, if you're a child of an EU, EA, or Swiss citizen who used to live and work in the UK, or the child's or the child's primary carer. Now, settlement resolution center, I've mentioned those ones. The settlement resolution center phone services was closed on 24th of March in line with the guidelines issued by the Public Health England. During the line closure, queries and concerns were responded to by email service, and what we call the SLA, service level agreements, yes, were maintained. But the phone service reopened on 5th of May and is operating normal hours. Other impacts. Needs to use local authority services to scan ID, requires face-to-face support such as assisted digital. However, the assisted digital phone service has been available. What else? Other impacts. Excuse me. Sometimes, as some restrictions are lifted, organizations have been making their workplace COVID secure and offering appointments in line with health advice, utilizing innovative ways to support and help applicants. For example, seeing organizations using car parks to meet, as well as using other adaptations, including selfie sticks, to help applicants use the Home Office EU Exits ID document check app. Right. So after transition, future relationship with the EU, from January 2021, free movement of EU citizens will end, and Home Office will introduce a single immigration system that treats EU and non-EU citizens equally. For those who wish to come to the UK to work, the aim of the system is to attract highly skilled workers who can contribute to our economy. It will therefore prioritize the skills a person has to offer, not where they come from. Let me repeat that. For those who wish to come to the UK to work, the aim of the system is to attract high-skilled workers who can contribute to our economy. It will not prioritize it will therefore prioritize the skills a person has to offer, not where they come from. I think a lot of people will be happy to hear that. The new system will be a global immigration system and will apply to all nationalities except British and Irish citizens who wish to come to work or study in the UK. Now, details of UK point-based system will be introduced from January 2021, where outlined in a policy statement launched in 19th of February this year, 2020. Although some changes will be introduced sooner, for example, arrangement for NHS VAR route workers, January 2021 will mark the start of a multi-year program of far-reaching change to transform the operation of border and immigration system. Finally, the changes will be introduced in a phased approach to ensure the smooth delivery of new system and allow sufficient time for everyone to adapt. The policy statement focuses on the first phase of changes being introduced in 2021. Now, who does not need to apply? This is the end of my presentation for under EU. You do not need to apply if you have indefinite leave to enter the UK, indefinite leave to remain in the UK, if you're British or Irish citizens, including having dual citizenship, if you're an EU, EAA or Swiss citizen and you moved to the UK before it joined the EU, you only need to apply if you do not have indefinite leave to remain in the UK. If you do have indefinite leave to remain, you usually have a stamp in your passport or a letter from the Home Office saying this. If you work in the UK but do not live here, frontline workers, you do not need to apply to the EU settlement scheme if you are a frontline worker. So that is the end of my presentation on on EU SS. Do you want me to break if there are questions, or do you want me to go straight into the Windrush? What do you want me to do? What would you prefer?
We can go through the Windrush, then we can ask a question starting 3 o'clock.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so let's go dive straight into the Windrush presentation. Now, whilst the document is downloading, a lot of us are aware of the Windrush, how we came about, and the Home Secretary, the Prime Minister, senior civil servants, even those of us that are, frontline, have apologized. Yes, it shouldn't have happened, but it has happened. And also, I hope that some of you have had the time to pick up the Wendy Williams report. Wendy Williams was the lady who was commissioned to look into it, and then she came up with some recommendations. And those recommendations, the Home Secretary did say that we're taking everything forward, not just one, not two. I mean, I think she made about 30 recommendations, and I can confidently tell you that in immigration enforcement across Home Office, let me just put that, across the Home Office, there's a lot of work going on regarding responding to the Windrush recommendations by Wendy Williams, and this also includes things like cultural awareness, education about Commonwealth, a host of work is actually going on. And also, I just need to put it out there that when it started, because it was there was a lot of focus on the Caribbean. Even now, where people have been told that, Nigerians and other Commonwealth countries, you can actually benefit from it, people are still very skeptical, because a lot of people still see it as, oh, no, it's only for people of Caribbean extract. No, that is not it. Now, let me just read what it says. It says, many people who settled lawfully in the UK before 1988 have the right to live and work in the UK, but some do not have the right documents to show their legal status. As a result, they may have found it hard to demonstrate their right to work and access services in the UK, and lost out on things like jobs, housing and healthcare. This has become known as the Windrush issue, as many of those affected are people from the Windrush generation and their families. The Windrush Help Team has been set up to help eligible people get the documents they need to demonstrate their rights to live and work in the UK. They can also help people claim compensation. A national advertising campaign has been launched to raise awareness amongst affected people, and the government continues to work with communities across the country to publicize the support available. The partner pack has been designed to equip you. So this pack is actually available to partners outside the UK. So this partner pack is out in the public. So it is not. I'm not telling you something that you cannot have access to. And can I just quickly say or mention that please, we're looking for communities to put together events that the Windrush team will come, break it down. They'll come with a task force. The task force are not, the task force are the ones who will look at your claim, not the ones that are chasing. No. The task force are actually Windrush task force. So they help people, point people in the right direction, give them advice, look at their application, and tell them what to do. Now, I know that a lot of people will say, there's been, yes, there has been a lot of delays, but one thing we shouldn't forget that it is not a one-size-fits-all. So you may have a very straightforward case, and you may have a very complicated case. There's a fantastic lady in the Nigerian community that has been helping a lot of people. Her name is Gertrude. I hope she's online. She's helped a lot of people to go through the process. And she also has complained that some things have not worked out the way they should. And you know, we are doing, a lot of work is being done. As you know, like I said earlier, the recommendations of Wendy William, the 30 recommendation has been taken forward by Home Office. We're not taking it lightly. From top, I can tell you, from top to bottom, there's a lot of overhauling going to ensure that we do not have a repeat of Windrush again. There's some case studies here, but let me find one that, okay, there's one case study here regarding to somebody called Yvonne. Yvonne is 75 and arrived in 1996 with her husband. They have 2 children who were born in the UK and still live here. Yvonne and her husband retired in 2008 and went to Nigeria. She has visited the UK often to see her family. When her husband died, Yvonne wanted to return to the UK to live with her daughter. The Windrush scheme helped Yvonne get a returning residence visa because of her strong ties to the UK. Now back in the UK, she's been given a further document to prove she is settled in the UK. I purposely read that because that is an example of a Nigerian, rather, instead of me reading an example of somebody from Jamaica or Pakistan. No, I decided, because so that we all know that if you're a Nigerian and you were here in that period, you may be back home, or if you have parents that were here and they've gone back home. I say to people, it's either yes or no, but at least find out if they qualify. Now, compensation. The Windrush team can also help people claim compensation if they suffered losses because they were not able to demonstrate their lawful right to live in the UK. Yes, we've heard of very terrible stories of people who have missed family weddings, who have missed funeral, and these are things that they're not going to happen again. And yes, the compensation is not saying it is it's the same thing as, you know, missing out, but what the Home Office is saying is, you know, just to compensate you, to say we're sorry that this happened because it should never have happened. Losses can be things like not being able to work, find a place to live, or get health care. They can also include immigration action like detention or removal from the UK. And I know that a few people watched the program Sitting in Limbo. I chose not to watch it, but I have an idea of the content. And I know that even for some of my colleagues, a majority of my colleagues, they found it very, very distressing, let alone...
I don't want to interrupt you, but the slide is not moving. I don't know if that's the intention.
No, I'm not the one controlling it.
All right, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so, but the slide will be available for people anyway. So even if it's not moving, NCL will make it available for people to have access to. There's no overall cap on the amount of compensation people can receive, although some categories do have an upper limit. People can apply for compensation in as many categories as they feel apply to them. Even if you are now British citizen, you can still make a claim if you were affected in the past. What can people claim for? Individuals may be able to claim compensation for losses relating to certain immigration fees and associated legal costs, access to employment, housing, homelessness, impact on life, child benefits, child tax credits, health, education, banking, deportation, detention, removal, or return. The Windrush compensation team aims to award compensation as quickly as possible, but some, like I said earlier, are more complex than the other, so it takes a longer time. We have developed a number of assets which can be downloaded and used by partners to increase their understanding of both the schemes and raise awareness within their own network. This include social media assets, informative videos, FAQs, frequently asked questions document, Windrush event poster. We have information booklets, we have radio adverts. I know in the Nigerian community, African Voice works closely with the Home Office to actually promote this. For those who are aware, African Voice is the leading magazine in the Nigerian community, and they turned 19 last week. Saturday. As a matter of fact, the director of Windrush was actually present at that event, and he gave a 5-minute presentation. So you can see that some people in the community are really doing their best to ensure that this information is out there. Now, contact the Windrush team. Did you come to the UK before the end of 1988? Have you struggled to prove your legal status in the UK? Have you suffered losses because you couldn't confirm your legal status? Please speak to advisor. You have advisor numbers 9 to 5 p.m. It's an 0800 number. They're also open on Saturdays from 10 to 3 a.m. Anything you tell, this is very important. Anything you tell the team will be treated with sensitivity. We do not share the team. Let me say, not me. I'm a volunteer on the Windrush team, but I work in immigration enforcement. But I can categorically and confidently tell you that any information you supply to the Windrush team is not passed to immigration enforcement. That has been said a lot of times, and that is a fact. Take it from me, and you can take it to the bank. Now, so that is it for Windrush. Now, I've just added 2 other slides. I'll round up in 5 minutes now, which I call general information. Now, one of the things that we do, like I said at the beginning, is that, yes, our primary responsibility is to enforce immigration rules and policies in the UK. As our name implies, immigration enforcement, we still do that, but we also engage with people on different levels. Now, another area that we try to engage people is to raise awareness about coming to join the civil service. There's a civil service job, there's a civil service website that you can register in, and then you do filter, you get notification depending on what job that you want. There's some jobs you don't need a degree. There's some that, is only 2 GCSE, but you need to go in there depending on what you want. Voluntary return service. Voluntary return service, I'll just quickly touch on that. Voluntary return service is a service that helps and support people who have come to the United Kingdom. They've done everything, and please, and this is important, they've done everything within that is available to them to regularize their stay, but they have not been able to do that. Now, instead of them continuing to be victim of exploitation, which is very sad, because a lot in my work I have seen too many. Some I don't even want to talk about because it brings tears to my eyes. You can imagine somebody spending as much as 30,000, even though the lawyer knew that that case was not going anywhere, spent £30,000. And when the lady called me and she was crying on the phone, and she said the last straw for her was when the lawyer then said she should bring £600. Now, please don't get me wrong. We have some very, very fantastic lawyers within the Nigerian community, but at the same time, we have so many of them that do not have any business dealing with immigration matters. They have destroyed people's cases. Some would say they have submitted application, whereas they haven't. I've seen cases where somebody has said, oh, my lawyer submitted. When we check, no application has been submitted. Also, when somebody submits application for you, please, please, please get a copy of whatever application that has been submitted. They must register the application, tell them to give you the tracking number so you can also track, and even the application you can also ask people. And you see, this is why I say also, please always come from a place of knowledge. Yes, I know, I think somebody mentioned it earlier, gov.uk can be so complicated that even there are times that I have to read or ask the experts what this means. I know that. But there are some very, very basic things that you know that if you read as a lay person, it gives you an idea. So if somebody is telling you A when they should be doing Z, you can quickly say to them, you know what, no, this is not right, and go and seek for another opinion. Point-based system, I think I've mentioned that earlier, so I won't talk about that. Now, good news. Good news. Amendment to those listening from Nigeria, amendment to students studying in the UK. You will be able to work or look for work in the UK at any skill level, up to 2 years or 3 years if you are a PhD student. You know, before, once you finish, you carry your bag and then you leave. But now, up to 2 years, and 3 years if you're a PhD student. Now, this is the one, this is my last slide, and this is the one that really, really gets me worked up. Complain and reporting a crime. Please, please, please. Like I said, there's so many people who do not have any business advising people because they've messed people up. There are commissions, there are bodies that you can report people to. The Office of Immigration Services Commissioner, OISC, is for immigration advisors. If anybody says he's an immigration advisor, you can actually go to their website. There's a number there, or is it 0345 number that you can check, because some of them would have been struck off and they'll still be working. And you know, our community, oh, I'll hand him to God. Please. No, these commissions are there so that they don't go and do the same thing to other people. If it's a solicitor or a lawyer, the Law Society, the Regulations Authority, Code of Conduct. There's the Ombudsman as well, 0300 number, it's all on here. I'm sure NCL will share that. And there's an email that you can email to. If you feel a lawyer has not given you the service they promised you, please complain. You've paid, and these things are not cheap. You've paid for the service. You deserve to get that service. I am sick and tired of people saying, oh, you know what, sorry, for those who don't speak Yoruba, I don't want to deny him of his means of living. And my response to that is, but they've messed up your own life. It is not revenge. It is not you taking revenge, but it is you stopping them from doing the same thing to other people. But I will repeat as well, kudos to our fantastic solicitors and lawyers who are doing very well and helping people, giving them the correct advice. Now, this one, I love this one. I used to be responsible for complaints in HMRC. And when I was in Heathrow, even my staff would say, yeah, see, why is it that Nigerians don't complain? Up till today, I do not know. But one thing I know is that they think maybe there'll be prejudice against them if they complain. Can I just state categorically here now? If you complain about anything, it will not be used against you when you now go and apply. Trust me. And if for any reason you feel or suspect that, you can actually write in and challenge that if you feel so. But I can tell you that the team that looks at your complaint is completely separate. They don't even know each other. They're in different locations. So if you want, if an immigration officer or a border force officer, if you encounter them, and obviously border officer coming through the borders, immigration, inland, the ones who wear uniform, we always have what we call epaulets. So there's always a unique number. They won't give you their names, but they will give you a unique number. That number is not repeated by any other person. I have my unique number, and that number will not be given. Even if I leave the civil service today, that number dies with me. So there's a procedure for complaints. Please complain, because when you don't complain, then we don't know how to. We don't learn so that we can improve how our officers relate to you. Last but not the least, crime related to modern slavery, human trafficking, domestic violence, and domestic servitude. Crime Stoppers, all you need to do is pick up your phone. Crime Stoppers actually, I'm told that they actually reward people who report crime, just like the name says, Crime Stoppers. It's an 08 number. There's a modern slavery number as well, and 999. 999. To report cases. So that is the end of my talk. I think, did I overrun by 5 minutes? I apologize for that. So yes, that's it. And happy to answer some questions. And I would ask my colleague Janet to unmute herself so that when the questions come in, she can also help with the questions.
Thank you very much for your time again. I think we already have questions in the chat room, and I don't know if there's anybody raising hands already as well.
Oh.
Let me just.
Janet, are you there? Yeah, I can see Janet. Janet, I think you need to unmute yourself, or have you been muted? Host, can you unmute Janet, please? Hello?
Yeah.
Janet, can we hear you? Can you talk so that we can know if we can hear you? No, she's speaking.
Sorry,
yeah, that's fine.
Unmuted me.
Oh, great. So, okay, go on with the question.
Hi, Janet. Okay. I've got a question on the chat room. It said, You mentioned that the Windrush team are interested to attend events to speak to people about Windrush. Will you post the name of the relevant person to contact for this? An NHS Trust Workforce Race Equality Network group is really keen to include someone from the Windrush team to join the panel of speakers for their celebration of Black History Month event. So they need a contact.
You can actually, because I'm also a volunteer, so I can take that photo. So it's Oluwayemisi. I don't know if you can post it. Oluwayemisi.jenkins@homeoffice.gov.uk.
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
Oluwayemisi.jenkins@homeoffice.gov.uk.
Oh, thank you. Oh, is there anybody raising hands again? Yeah, thank you. Oh. Is there anybody open raising hands?
Yes, me, Uche, well, I have raised my hand, yeah?
Okay.
Okay, this is a question for Mrs. Jenkins, please. The EU settlement scheme, yeah? Does it only apply to people who want to live and work in the UK? What about people who have British citizenship but want to live and work in a European country? Does that also apply to them as well?
Well, that will be, that has nothing to do with outside the UK. What's, this is about is people, EU nationals settling in the UK. So those are the people that this law will apply to. As you would appreciate, the British government cannot dictate what other countries will do once we leave the EU.
Okay, fine then.
Is that clear?
So then, yes, fine. So then it only applies to people who want to live and work in the UK then, yeah?
Yes, EU and EEA nationals, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, once again, my name is Olu Taiwo. Can you hear me, please?
Hi, Mr. Taiwo.
Hi, Ms. Jenkins. I believe I have your number. I have your card. I might be calling you later. Yeah, my question for clarification has to do with the Windrush.
We're having a background noise somewhere.
Thank you. Stop now. And it might interest you that I was going to tag my issues in this respect as Windrush Extra. But thank you, you had clarified that it didn't only have to do with people from the Caribbean, and it affects, it affects people from Africa, particularly in Nigeria as well. I would like to find out, contacting the Windrush team, can anyone present anybody's case without now being pulled for having contravened or violated the immigration law? Particularly, as I introduced myself earlier, I don't offer, neither do I advise on immigration matters. However, when people have issues, we may look at the website together, just like the example I gave earlier. We tried to get a solicitor to help somebody having issues with domestic violence. And what we got was, the person were recommended, the companies were recommended by organizations, DV organizations. Oh, sorry, we don't have capacity, we don't have time. So we had to sit down with this person on our own, on the internet, to put the application in. So now I wanted to find out, because I have another case, and this might interest you. A brother and sister who were born in the UK in the 60s and taken back to Nigeria. They have been fighting to come back to the UK for almost 20 years now. So it's something, yeah, it is unbelievable. And but now that the Windrush situation is there, perhaps it might now be a bit better. So I wanted to find out whether contacting the Windrush team and being able to provide the information and any evidence that may be in our possession at the moment, it will not be misconstrued as offering immigration services.
Mr. Tower, thank you very much for that. And I can say that because so many, like I mentioned the lady's name, Gertrude. Gertrude is not a solicitor, neither is she a lawyer. I'm sure she's listening in. She has helped so many people, pointing them in the right direction, sending them maybe the right form to fill and telling them where to go to, which is what we would expect. Even I, because I don't work on that team, I'm only a volunteer. I'm not an expert. I cannot give you advice, but I can say this is where to go. I can say send me an email regarding this individual, and I will forward it to the team, and the team will get in touch with you directly, if that makes sense. So you will not you will not be penalized for pointing them in the right direction, as long as you have made it clear that you are not advising them in that capacity. So please feel free, drop me an email, and I can link you up with the team. Also, like I said, it's past 3 now, so they're closed now, but they're open tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. 0800 678 1925, Monday to Friday 9 to 5. But if you would, if you want to, you can, like I said, drop me an email and I'll forward it to the team, and somebody will get in touch with you, because we know that there's some people who are maybe elderly or vulnerable and will need that support. So we can't be penalizing people for providing that support for them.
Yeah, well, thank you for the clarification. I was only speaking from some experience in the past. Maybe
yeah, I get you. I get you.
Exactly. So anyway,
I get you.
Yeah.
I guess it's always good to be
I'll contact you anyway. Yeah.
No problem. No problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very.
I'm not sure. It looks like Gertrude is wanting to say something. Not sure.
Yeah, please, if you can. She's been very good. Is she on?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Gertrude, hi. Sorry, I dropped your name. I have to.
Okay, I've been listening. I've been helping Windrush victims since April 2018. And I also flew to Nigeria in 2018 to help them submit their applications, and I'm helping quite a few of them over here. There's not really any problem with Home Office thinking that you're an immigration advisor, because there are so many Windrush community groups everywhere, in Preston, Nottingham, Manchester. There are lots of groups where they help people do exactly that. And I also know quite a few people who were born here, their parents took them back as children, and they've been struggling to come back as well. So it's a very common problem, very common now. So go ahead and help whoever you want to help.
Thank you, Gertrude.
All right, okay.
I can't see any raised hands.
All right, okay, fantastic. Thank you very much.
I can see Ndidi, she's waving there.
All right, okay.
Wanting to talk. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Again, my comment is on the EU SS. And a lot from our experience, a lot of people who may struggle or feel there's no need to come forward are victims of the domestic violence. They may not have their documents, or somebody who is in a difficult marriage and doesn't have it works both ways. It could be the man or the woman. They don't have
There's a background noise. Can we mute everybody, please?
So they might feel they don't have the documents to do the application, but they should still come forward. Like I said earlier, under that EUSS, for EU citizens, it's usually a simple application which a level 1 immigration advisor can do. But for other cases, non-EU family members, if anyone has a criminal record, they will need a lawyer. And what the settled.org, two organizations that I know, settled.org and the UK Butterflies, they are nationwide. So they have retained lawyers to help people. So again, I encourage people to come forward because there's a timeline and it's running out. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I just quickly add to what Ndidi just said with respect to domestic violence or abuse? Likewise, if you have found yourself in such a situation, quite unfortunately, please just keep calm. Don't worry too much. It's a worrying time, but don't worry too much. You might not have been able to take any documents out of the relationship. Still, as Ndidi said, say come forward and put your case forward. You might not even be in possession of the children's passports or birth certificates or any documentation whatsoever. Just present yourself, present your case, and I believe that somehow somebody would listen and somebody might be able to find some things to support your case. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we're running ahead of time now.
Janet, do you want to, sorry. Janet, with regards to the vulnerability part of it.
I agree with what the gentleman said. I mean, please don't worry that you've got no documents, because if you've come here on a spousal visa, then we can get your records up from that. So we'll be able to show how you entered the UK, what your status is. We'll also be able to do checks on your children. So that shouldn't be a barrier to you leaving that situation if you need to. And don't worry about being destitute. If you need help, and the only barrier to you thinking, oh, I'm going to be homeless, don't accept that. Leave, report it, and somebody will help you. There's lots of charities. If you go into the national referral mechanism, you can get accommodated and that support that you need right from the beginning, from day one, as soon as that referral's put in. So please don't use that as a barrier or think that it is a barrier. The Home Office and Immigration Enforcement are here to help you, but we can't help you unless you come forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Is there anything else from our speaker? Because we'll be rounding up.
Indeed, is putting her hand up again.
Yeah. Oh. I would like to add a practical example of how everybody's case is different. This is not a blanket advice, but in the case of a mother, she didn't have any documents, but the school was able to write that this is the person we know that brings the child. You know, for years, you keep bringing the child to school. So even sometimes the schools can write a letter of support, but again, everybody's case is on a case-by-case basis. Well, please come forward. We'll help.
Thank you.
Help.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you again. So we'll be around. So what we have next on the agenda for the meeting going forward, we have a Leeds COVID-19 lockdown update, and then we have a closing remarks from Dr. Babatunde Bolade. While we're in Leeds, for the Leeds lockdown update, I'll be giving the Leeds lockdown update. I think yesterday there was a quick one. So yesterday there was a new restriction in place. Just in case we don't know, it says host people do not. You must not host people you do not live with in your home or garden unless they are in your support bubble. You must not meet people you do not live with in their homes or in garden, whether inside or outside of the affected areas, unless they are in your support bubble. You must not, the police will be able to take action against those that break this rule, including asking people to disperse or issuing fixed penalty notices starting at £100 for those who participate in illegal gathering. So in summary, we're not meant to visit people in their house unless they're in your support bubble in Leeds, starting from yesterday. Another one, you must not socialize with people you do not live with unless they are in your support bubble in any public venue, either in Leeds or elsewhere. Example of public venues including pubs, restaurants, cafes, shops, places of worship, community centers, leisure, entertainment venues, visiting attractions and parks. Not to visit friends or family in care homes, other than in exceptional circumstances. Care homes should restrict visits to these circumstances as well. To follow all relevant transport guidance when taking a journey into, with or out of areas affected. Wear a face covering on public transport and try not to share a car with those outside your household or support bubble. So that is the new restriction rules guiding Leeds yesterday. So I thought it would be worthwhile mentioning that while we in this webinar. Thank you. I will hand over to Dr. Ogbolade for closing remark.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
You quite low.
Faintly.
Volume up.
Can I just
volume up?
Yeah. Okay.
Your volume is very low.
Is it better now?
Not really.
It can be better, sir.
Yeah, it's better. Not really.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and it's been a very informative afternoon. We wish to thank our colleagues from the Home Office.
We still can hear you properly.
Can you hear now? Can you hear? Okay.
It's very low.
Just a minute while I put on a headphone. Just a moment. I'll change the speak mic. Right. Can you hear now?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. And it's been a very informative afternoon. We wish to thank our colleagues from the Home Office, Ms. Jenkins and Ms. Griffiths. In fact, Ms. Jenkins has been participating in our events for so long. I think it's time we offered her a honorary membership of NCL. We've had a lot of information this afternoon, which I'm sure a lot of our participants would take away and would be able to share with their friends and colleagues and family members so that they can make use of it as it pertains to each individual. I also wish to thank everybody that has participated this afternoon, considering that it's a Saturday afternoon when most people would either be at home sleeping, eating, or participating in some social activity, which has been curtailed anyway by the COVID pandemic, but people would still have time to do something or the other. So for having chosen to participate in this webinar, justifying the time and effort of the members of the Board of Trustees that have put this together, thank you very much for giving us your time. And with that, I think we've come to the end of the webinar. Thank you again.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. We really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye.